Well, your question is too specific to the case. I'm not, I cannot tell you that I've read the entire case of United States and Caracas. I'm vaguely aware of it, but I don't know exactly how does your question about United States and Caracas, how is it particularly relevant to the conversation?
All right, we are talking about international law, right? And the US they went to Caracas to adopt a sovereign leader of a country that we all know is rich in oil, about 304 billion in proven oil reserves, which we all know, as we know, the US is interested in that oil, and they are not just all these light or medium or crude oil; they are heavy crude oil that that there are only few places in the world that has it, like Russia, Canada, and Venezuela. So, in the case of international law, who gets to decide uh, I mean, the question is, does it still exist with the fact that a sovereign nation was abducted from right from his country, right from where right from the capital of the country where he rules, and then he was abducted alongside his wife to be on U.S. soil to be tried for so-called drug, narcotic charges, which we've not seen any. The US have been unable to prove that this guy actually did what they're accusing him of. But to justify whatever imperial interest they have in that country, they need to make up a story. So, with the event of adopting a sovereign country's leader, does international law still exist? Does sovereignty exist? And who gets to decide when international law has been broken or not? Because in this case, the years are actually shown to you once again that we don't believe in all these human rights bullshit.
Well,
All right, all
okay.
right, thank you, Professor Harry, if I may, please. So he's making reference to what happened in Venezuela, right? Hope you understand where he's coming from.
Yeah,
So,
I completely understand. And thank you, Mayowa. Mayowa is an investigative journalist from what I see. The way when you started initially, you said it looks like you said something insinuated that I have strong beliefs in international law. Well, I have a master's in international law actually, but I don't even believe as strongly as you made this sound in international law. And these are my reasons. Initially, the summary of everything I said was that there is politics and there's power. And no matter how much, in fact, there's rule of law, there's politics, and there's power. No matter how much we want to close our eyes, so many things that are happening in the world today are function of power and not necessarily the rule of law. I give you a typical example. See the ICC, International Criminal Court. A lot of people like to sing the ICC, the international crimes he prosecutes and all that. How many foreign leaders have the ICC ever charged, indicted, and prosecuted? The answer, that's European. Let me say European. Let me not say foreign. European leaders. The answer is zero. This is irrespective of the fact that we know what George Bush did. We've seen the incursions in Libya, for instance. We saw how Iran and all that. But the answer is zero. If you now flip the conversation and say how many African leaders have the ICC indicted, charged, or prosecuted, the answer is many. From Omar Bashir to Gbagbo of Cote d'Ivoire to Kenyatta in Kenya, many of them have been charged. In fact, there was a time that the ICC charged Putin. Okay, prosecute him, let's see. The reality is that under today's world, there is no way the ICC can prosecute somebody like Putin. This is just to tell you that, yes, there may be rule of law, but there's also politics and power. Under international law, it is true that there are certain international customary laws, that have been accepted, within the international legal acquis. We like to say international customary laws and all that. International customary laws, so for instance, it states that you cannot forcibly capture a president of another country while he's still president. International customary law would ordinarily dictate that as the head of state, you enjoy certain immunities while you are in office. That is true. International customary law may even tell you that United States federal law cannot trump international law or international customary law. So one can write a very long thesis, the 30, 40 pages thesis of how the capture of Maduro is illegal under international law. But my reaction will be that any conversation along those lines will be completely inconsequential for facts and for what experience has taught us. Where is Saddam Hussein today? He's dead. He was convicted and he was hanged. Where is Muammar Gaddafi today? He's dead. What are the consequences for those who were involved in his removal? Practically zero. And I say this because the US enjoys tremendous influence and power in today's world. The US has said that Maduro has offended territorial laws in the US. The US has arrested him. The Department of Justice has released indictments that indict Maduro for certain types of crimes: narco-terrorism, drug trafficking, conspiracy to import cocaine. These are crimes under US law. Whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, the US has the capacity to enforce its laws beyond its jurisdictions. That is all we're seeing here. We're seeing a very powerful country that has the capacity to enforce its laws beyond its jurisdiction, and that is simply what they are doing. While you may theoretically say that it conflicts with international law, it does not conflict with international law. My argument to all those is that those arguments are simply academic and moot, because you can talk about what is obtainable or what is desirable, what is ideal under international law. Then there's the real fact, which is irrespective of what we may want to argue on the other side. This guy was captured and is currently probably in the Southern District of New York, waiting to be charged and prosecuted. And if found guilty, will probably be incarcerated. I also use the example of the United Nations Permanent Security Council to tell you that within the context of even those Permanent Security Council, there are so many of those countries, the US included, Russia included, that do not even subscribe to many important international treaties. You may be surprised, for instance, maybe the Rome Statutes or some of those treaties that constitute the International Criminal Court. Countries like the US, in many instances, do not even agree to ratify or to sign some of those treaties. They are not part of it. They will tell you that they are not part of it. They may not recognize certain international treaties. So when you try to invoke international customary law, international law, they will tell you it does not apply to the United States. They will tell you that it's only treaty subscribed to that applies to them. In fact, in a country like Nigeria, I think it's Section 12 or thereabout, it will tell you that unless it ratifies an international treaty, that treaty does not apply to Nigeria. So you see that these conversations are very fluid. At the end of the day, it's ideal. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights. There's what is ideal, but there's also the practical reality of people who are in power, use what they do because they have power. We see it in Nigeria. We saw it with Tinubu versus Fubara. We saw it in Obasanjo versus Shufadari. There's absolutely nothing new with what is going on. It's just power, politics with a little sprinkle of law. Thank you, my set.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Hagan. Mayowa, thank you for your questions. I know you have another question from Mr. Pagi, but please do hold your thought for a minute. Carry those on the comment section along. Mr. Ndo, let me call Ndo, right? So I said, my question is, do we see this as Nigeria getting independence, or as Nigeria trading war independence on the West for another on China? I mean, those on the speaker section I want to respond to that. So, but let me quickly read out some of the comments as well. Olu says, based on law, the U.S. can indict Maduro in America, but under U.S. and international law, they have no right to go into his country and remove him, especially when they are not at war. The only legal way is for his country to hand him over to U.S. Let me continue. The ICC has a warrant out for Putin and Netanyahu, but they can't go into their respective countries. to arrest them. And them. That's from. Thank you very much for your comments. Then please bear with me, guys. I just want to carry everybody along. Sarah, put out something here. Okay, Nigerian Venezuela Solidarity Group requests U.S. action and wants Trump to stay off free President Maduro. This is from Mr. Saraf. It appears that protests going on somewhere in Nigeria. People who are saying that the United States should release the president of Venezuela. And the voice said democracy must be defended. Decisive action in Venezuela sends a very strong message. No one should wait into power, force leadership on the people. Power come into the ballot box. This is a clear warning to African leaders, especially the Nigerian, sorry, I think that's what it was, the Nigerian government, where election rigging has been normalized instead of rejected. The will of the people is non-negotiable. The era of stealing mandate must end. Free, fair, and credible elections are the only path to legitimate leadership. History is watching. Thank you very much, The Voice, for wonderful contribution on the comment section. So, unfortunately, Mr. Baiki has dropped. I think you have another question for him, right? He's no longer. Go ahead. He's no longer here. So I was going to ask you. Okay, go ahead if you want to ask the question, but he's not here. I have a question for you, but go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to point out the fact that I understand the US has used this idea of we are the savior of the world and we human rights law, we are democracy across the whole world. That idea actually creates a lot of perception how we view this area that has actually never I the fact that it's just a bully with a superpower with nukes to to bully anybody to submission, subjugate countries with resources into their own way and then under their imperial control. That's what these countries stand for. Wherever there is
Yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead. I thought you finished. Go ahead, sir.
yeah, just the final one. Wherever there is wherever they find their interest, if the country is not aligned with Washington, the next is regime change. In how they use NGOs, opposition movement, opposition that we have in Nigeria, which is actually very critical right now. We have terrorist groups that are being funded, and they came out. Scott Perry came out only during a hearing at the Senate hearing saying we fund Boko Haram and a list of other terrorist organizations that we know that these people actually created. ISIS, for example, that the US created, the Trump administration claimed that they struck in Sokoto. Who created ISIS? The CIA and MI6. In fact, this information are not made by my Wadro Simi just because I'm a journalist. These information are there for the public to go and check. The US created ISIS alongside MI6 in conjunction with Mossad as well, because they are, they are these inseparable allies that we know of. So if you are talking about the view of America, we need to understand what they actually mean when they say they want to, come to Nigeria to save us, protect Christians. And if we all notice, this very moment that they intend to have like a permanent presence in Nigeria, close to this AES country, which is Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, they've actually made sure that these terrorists intensify their terror activities to the point that they will have to, justify any further action that military action that they will take on against Nigeria's interests on Nigerian soil and against our sovereignty. So these examples that are, before our very eyes, we are seeing on social media as just, posts, random posts. These people are decisive, acting on every intent, even though they manufacture pretext to justify whatever evil action they have planned against us. So we should do away with this idea of US is, coming here to save us. and we are better off with US coming, and now we are including Benjamin Netanyahu, a war criminal that is yet to be prosecuted by the ICC, not even fined to be convicted at the ICJ before they've been taken to the ICC. So the idea of this Washington and Israel coming to save the Christian, we need to start asking our question beyond what we see on the ground. And there's a popular saying, I don't know who made that statement, where Nigeria is a country where a lot of things happen, and you think nothing is happening. But behind that is a lot of things that you don't know. And most of them appear before our faces, but if you don't have the context, the information that you need to have, which I would also, which will also lead me back to encouraging Nigerians to spend more time in reading, because with recent cases that the US have been involved in military actions in Nigeria, we've seen Nigerians express themselves to the point where individually we are great, but collectively we are just bunch of, let me just keep that word, but we've shown ourselves that we are not that intellectual, because why would we be opening our sovereignty up to US invasion when we've seen historical records that have point that wherever the US presence is not a good news? We've seen the cases in Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, and the likes, and they manufacture a series of lies to justify whatever military and illegal action that they need to take to further their own hegemonic interests. So Nigerians, we have a country to save, regardless of mindset. I'm running up. I see your hands up. Regardless of the regime that is in charge of our country, we have a country to actually, to call home. So if you are opening ourselves to Western intervention and the likes, I guess that's we sign up for our own debt. So I need my mic for now. Thanks, mindset.
Thank you very much, Manuel, for your submission. Now, I raised my hand because I wanted to address some things. Please, guys, it's very, very important to me, and I believe I've said this a couple of times. You can disagree with the speaker, but this name calling is something I will not condone. You might disagree. You can disagree with him and make your point and tell him the reason you disagree with him, whether on the speaker section or the comment section. Name callings is not acceptable, right? He's making his own point. Do I agree with everything he said? No. I'm going to ask him questions. This is why we're on this platform, right? He's a journalist. I'm not a journalist. There are some things he might know that I would like to know from him, right? Please, it's very, very important. So, Mario, thank you for your submission. Now, I have a question for you. So you referenced Scott Perry, the congressman from the U.S. Now, you're a journalist, so I believe you know this better than myself. Scott Perry was making reference to the Biden administration, saying, I'm not quoting him, but I'm paraphrasing right now, that it was that particular administration that funded or created the ISIS, right? He's not saying it was Donald Trump, because I think we are trying to model this whole thing together, because when people make that argument, it would appear that it was this administration of Donald Trump. So you're a journalist. So can you please clarify to myself and those listening that what Scott Perry was making reference to is that it was the administration of Joe Biden. Am I right, sir?
So just to clarify that part, U.S. foreign policy, regardless of the party in charge of Washington, is the same thing when it comes to furthering the hegemonic interest of U.S. In the case of Africa continent, where there is a lot of resources that they covered for, the foreign policy, whether it's Republican or Democrat, is the same thing. So when I said U.S. Congressman Scott Perry admitted on air and is publicly available, I was saying he admitted to the fact that they funded Boko Haram, and Boko Haram has presence in the northern Nigeria. And what are the actions that they are carrying out? Atrocities against residents in those communities, in those villages, because they know they are vulnerable, and we know how our military respond to situations like that. Terrorists will carry out their attacks before they will show up. That aside, that's the issue of Boko Haram set aside, and the issue of ISIS was actually probably I will share that information right now in the comment section, but it's based on the fact that after I came across an investigation by a fellow journalist like me, but he's not even an African man. His name is Clint Klarenberg. He did an extensive investigation where he found he was able to put public information together to prove that actually the CIA created ISIS, and the Trump administration recently, to justify the military action in Nigeria, they said they are going after terrorists, ISIS terrorists in Sokoto. And another information to support that is a former FBI consultant. He's actually a counterterrorism expert to the FBI. He resigned and then he became a journalist, or rather a whistleblower, because that's, or if you work for a federal government agency and then you go out to become a journalist, you are more or less of a whistleblower actually, because you have access to critical information that an ordinary journalist would not have access to. So he said, he went, I think about 2017 or so, he said it openly. There's a public information, anybody can fact check me on that as well. He went on to say, we created ISIS, the CIA created ISIS. And a lot of people would be like, that's not some information that is important, because they are only seeing bandits in northern Nigeria. But you are not questioning the fact that how will a malnourished northerner or foreigner that came through to our open, through our porous border, was able to have access to sophisticated weapons that are not even accessible to our Nigerian military men, to the point where they can overrun our military bases. Nobody is even thinking about that. So if they are telling us that we created these terrorist activities that we are seeing, we are living the experience every day, and the aftermath of terror, they are not hiding it from us. Why is it difficult for Nigerians to understand the fact that internal problem, regardless, by that I mean who is running the country, is irrelevant to an extent, because we have external factors that we cannot excuse away from the fact that they are the major contributors of terror in Nigeria. The people we have in Abuja are just puppets. They have leverage on the other guy in Abuja right now. They have leverage over him. They've been unable to release his unredacted file. In Chicago, we all know this information. It's not new information that is coming from Mayowa. We all know this information.
Sorry, Mayowa, hold your thoughts for a minute. I wanted to respond to that question, because I'm going to come back to that. I don't want us to move away from that particular question, which I believe you have responded to. So I do have a follow-up question, right? If that's okay with you. Now, thank you very much for responding to the question that I asked you. And you did mention that the U.S. foreign policy is U.S. foreign policy. But one thing you failed to tell the audience is who was, the president then, right? Now, the U.S. foreign policy is U.S. foreign policy in your own words. But let me put it to you right now. Now, the person who was in charge then was a man called Barack Obama. Okay? Now, the Democrats and the Republicans, they do not agree in a lot of things. I mean, if you go with what is going on in Minnesota, that has to do with the Somalians and everything. Please, I'm not digressing. I just wanted to make my point. Now, a lot of Republicans are saying there's a fraud being committed here. The Democrats are saying, no, you cannot deprive people from, getting the vouchers or what have you for their debt care, right? Now, this is politics being played here, okay? But I have a question for you, sir, if you can respond quickly, sir. There is a statement from ISWAP, right? A few days ago, where they said that if people of Nigeria or if Christians have who choose not to convert to Islam will be killed, right? I'm sure you've seen that statement. Now, and someone like yourself who's a journalist, I'm not sure if you have digging to find out. What do you make of that statement? Do you believe that this is all cooked up? Do you believe that it's the US that is saying that they are going to kill Christians, whereby they are coming to defend Christians? Please, sir, if you do not mind responding to that question, sir.
Yeah. So what I would say is I have no direct information to confirm if it's it was an order given to them by Washington. What I would say is that who is funding them to carry those activities to the point where they can make that bold statement to the Nigerian populace that we are coming to kill you and there's nothing you can do about it because the puppets we have in Abuja will not be able to stop them. So does that answer your question?
I mean, you've answered the question. It's also if I believe it or not. But thank you very much. I mean, the reason I'm asking this question to you, you are an investigative journalist. Now, there's something that a lot of people have argued, and maybe you can shed more light to it when you use the word the puppets. Do you believe America? Do you believe that the presidency is working for America?
Okay, I will cite an example when. Okay, let me answer with a question as well. Why would Nigeria want to, to go to Benin to carry out a military action when it actually failed to secure its internal threat caused by external factors that are sponsoring terrorism on its soil? If you have the wait. The example I'm citing actually shows that, or I would say it exposes the fact that even though a lot of Nigerians might not know that, it actually exposes Nigeria's capability to carry out military operations that could end terrorism in Nigeria today. But the question is, why are they not doing it? Why?
All right. Okay, so you have not, Amayowa, you're just answering my question with another question. You're a journalist, right? Now, do you believe that the man in Aso Rock is a puppet for the United States? Do you believe that he's working for the United States?
Absolutely. And not just the United States, actually.
No, let's limit it to the United States. I have the reason why I'm asking you this question, because I've seen a lot of people who make this argument that he's working for the United States and everything. And I mean, I have a different view to that, and I'm going to respond to that, and I'll tell you my reasons. It doesn't make sense to me, right? If you believe that he's working for the United States, now the same United States that he's working for decided to come in and then come up with something that a lot of people say is not right, in quotes, this whole Christian genocide. How does that make sense? The same man working for you, you're coming out to say that he's killing Christians. Who is working for who? Does that, I mean, the little I know, it doesn't add up, right? I want to believe that if indeed that he's working for the United States, why would the United States come up and put him in this position whereby they're coming to invade the same country, right, that he is a part of? So what could have happened is the United States would look at it and say, no, our man is there, forget about this whole thing about Christian genocide. We're not going to go in because it doesn't add up, sir. You're working for him and they're coming in to, invade the country whereby you have somebody that is working for them. If you would like to respond, sir, quickly.
So when Donald Trump and his administration says they are coming to save Christians from, being killed by terrorists, what message does that translate to an ordinary Nigerian? So an ordinary Nigeria, they will be like, to an ordinary Nigeria who doesn't know that these same people that are coming to save the Christians from being killed by terrorists are the ones actually funding the terrorists. They will think, we have, so a superpower country that is coming to save us from the Nigerian government's failure to end terrorism. That's what they will see, right? But in the case of the puppet in Abuja, everyone last one of them, because when I say puppet, it's actually from the fact that they get to be influenced by external factors. And I will cite an example. Most of our laws are written by foreign interests. In towards 2015, 2014, I did a lot of reports where I expose how these foreign NGOs, even local ones that are funded by external funders, get to, write our laws. And I will cite an example. PLAC, for example, is funded by UK Aid and the likes. A series of NGOs that I line up in the industry, legal industry, name it. They are influencing our laws in the name of, making it open to Western influence. But they won't say it that way because, and that way it will be obvious to Nigeria that they are actually serving external interests, not the Nigerian populace that they claim to serve. So if these people are able to influence our politicians, are they not puppets? If a foreign NGO with dollars are able to influence our laws at the Senate floors, those are the Senate not puppets? They are. In the real sense of it, if you are being honest with ourselves. So,
okay.
So to answer your question, in the case of Tinubu not serving, being able to save the issue, sort the issue of terrorism in Nigeria, and then Trump is coming in, then we need to ask ourselves the question that is the Trump administration really coming in to solve the issue of terrorism, or they are just pushing that pretext to justify their military presence in Nigeria? And I will cite example again. When Trump took to Truth Social to announce that he carried out a strike on our soil in Sokoto, the airstrike was conducted, as we all know, for the debris of some of the missiles that they launched from, according to Western media, from from the Gulf of Guinea, from a naval base in the Gulf of Guinea. When they launched those airstrike, one of the debris of the airstrike landed in Kwara Alpha, in 5 residential buildings. Families were rendered homeless. Now, okay, this reminded me of this as well. When the missiles dropped in Kwara, I noticed Nigerian so-called media agencies and the like, they sort of avoided that part and focused on Sokoto. Why was that? Because they would want to amplify the fact that these so-called people that claim to, they are pretending to come to save us, they're actually causing more harm than the good that they claim to be offering us. Why would you carry out what you call a powerful, ambitious, successful operation, and then residential buildings are being brought down and people are rendered homeless, and nobody gets to hold you accountable for that? Can a Nigerian actually ask the Washington to be held accountable for running those families homeless? No. The answer is no. So to answer your question, it might appear as if you are calling them a puppet, then the Trump administration is coming to save them, so-called save them, quote unquote save them. It will appear as if there is the reality is like contrary to what's on ground, but that's not the case. I pretended to come to save you, but I'm actually funding the very terrorists that are killing you, and I've come again to say, let me come and save you from the terror that I funded. How does that sound?
All right. Sorry, Mayo, I raised my hand because I've got a lot of people who would like to ask a question, but if you can kindly round up in a minute, let it not be that I just cut you off without you rounding up, please, if you can't, sir, and then we can pass the mic to others.
Thank you so much. So the point I'm trying to make is that your problem can never be a solution, and they will make you to believe you are not the solution. You are actually the solution. You have the free will, the access to information, the little education you have. You'll be able to think for yourself to find a solution internally and not depend on Western intervention that will amount to 10x of the problem you think you currently have. So that's my submission for now. Thank you, man.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayo. I mean, for those, he's an investigative journalist, and you can ask questions, please, respectfully. If you disagree with him, please ask questions. One thing I don't do, you see me, right? I've never claimed to know it all. And when it comes to journalists, I am not a journalist. My job is my job. I analyze politics, and I'm a consultant, and I have my intels, but does that make me a journalist? No, right? This is his own response to my question, which some of I disagree with a lot of things that he said. Some of them, yes, I would like to review it, and but based on the little information I have, right, the idea that somebody is a puppet and all these things, for me, based on the little information I have and based on my intels, it doesn't really align with what I know. But does that mean he's not a journalist? Absolutely not. So please, if you want to respond to what he said, respectfully, you have every right to ask him question. Thank you very much, Mayo, for your wonderful submission. Chooks, you go ahead, then I can pass the mic back to Mr. Baiki and Harry. Let's be very mindful of time, please. Chooks, you have the mic. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, mindset, and good evening, all. I want to ask you a question, Mayowa, but before that, let me just clarify some things. I think you don't really understand how U.S. politics works. There's a clear difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. These two have different ideologies. In fact, recently, the Trump administration said that they will stop funding NGOs. They will start giving money directly to the government to carry out, and for instance, if they want to fund a particular, they want to give country aid, they will not give it to an NGO. They will give it to the government to carry out those aids rather than give it to NGO, because NGOs don't utilize that money. They use that money for another thing. And when you are talking about terrorism, that the US, they are funding terrorism, well, that might be the Democrats, Obama, and co. Now, recently, some of your politicians in Nigeria, they were, convicted, or they were accused of having of funding terrorism in Nigeria. And then you are saying that US, they're the ones funding the terrorism. So how does those two, statements, how do you clarify that? Some of the politicians in the North, they were recently accused that they are the ones funding terrorism in Nigeria. So you want to tell me that the US give them money and they fund the terrorism? I mean, I don't understand that, because there's I don't really get that statement. If the US is funding terrorism and some of your politicians are accused of funding terrorism, can you please just clarify that? I just want to,
Thank you. Sorry, Maya, please do hold your thought for me, because I want us to be very mindful of time. So if there's any other question, or do we allow, because I'm not sure how long yourself and others will be on this platform, so I just wanted to be very, very mindful of time, right? If you can, I was going to say, if I can get another person who have another question, so you might want to respond to both questions, if that's okay. Or do you want to respond to Chik's question, Mayowa?
Anyone is fine by me, actually.
Okay, do we have any other person that have a question or a contribution for him based on what he said, so he can respond to both questions? I can see 3 individuals raising their hands. So, Mr. Baiki, please go ahead, your question.
Thank you very much, Mindset. I wish to ask Mayowa, what caliber of weapons were dropped in Offa? I just want to know the caliber of shells that dropped in Offa. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. So, Mayo, if you can kindly respond to these 2 questions, then I can pass the mic to Gift, Henry, and Yusuf. Please go ahead, sir.
All right, I'll take the last one first. So basically, from public information that we have access to, which I always like to cite public information because everybody have access to it. From what is out there is we have, according to the report, we have a Tomahawk missiles and some of the debris, because every Tomahawk missile carries a warhead, whether explosive or nuclear warheads. So this particular one is actually an explosive one, but some of them failed to explode and they landed. And we all saw the evidence on social media how they were seen in Offa and the likes. So does that answer your question, Mr. Abdullah?
Okay, that's okay. You've answered the question, please, because of time.
Right.
So, if you don't, please, can you respond to Chuk, so we can pass the mic to the others who are raising their hand? Thank you.
Right. Regarding the question of USAID being, an NGO being not receiving funding from the US again. So basically, what a lot of Nigerians doesn't know is that when the Trump administration came in and says they've ended USAID, that funds these terror activities and all these subversive NGOs that are against our interests and the likes, they actually shut down the USAID. But what a lot of Nigerians didn't, pay attention to was the fact that the USAID was actually adopted by State Department. It's under the State Department right now, and if we follow the level, the approach at which the Trump administration has been operating with African countries, we will notice a pattern that it's likely appear as if all these NGO approach, humanitarian approach, and to a more crazier, if I'm allowed to use that word, a more crazier approach in the sense that we see Washington coming to Kenya to sign one healthcare deals that hands over the data information, the health information of Kenyans to the hands of imperialists in Washington. We see it in Botswana. We see it in all of about 5 or 4 countries that they've signed this deal with. So we might think they've ended USAID, but they've actually metamorphosed into something else entirely, whereby it's all imperialism interests that they still keep, pursuing to further their own interests against our own interests. They might throw money to the government. Of course, the government will collect it dollar. They will collect it because they believe it will, help their economy in a way. And as puppets, what choice do you really have? Most of these African countries, with the exception of the few, are puppets. So what obligation do they have to a superpower, a country that has no? And they have. And by the way, all the 54 African countries that we have, none of them has the right to, build a nuclear weapon, because about 56 years ago or so, we signed a deal called Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the NNPT agreement. And the basis of the agreement is that even though you have uranium that are used to, manufacture these nuclear weapons, you have no right to use it. And if you have any intention or any goal of, building nuclear arms that is capable to have uranium up to 90%, which is the benchmark where you can actually use, you have enough of uranium, processed uranium in reserve to build a nuclear weapons. They are saying, in fact, that you sign this agreement, and every African country you can think of, including the AES countries, are actually signatory, or that signature of some of them have even ratified the agreement. So that alone is against our interests, in the sense that we have these resources. They will come to us to get it cheaply, as much as possible, as quickly as possible. They need it, but they are telling us we can't use it to secure our sovereignty. We can't use it for security of our people that we pretend to serve, even though we are ruling them in the real sense of it. So why should that be the case? That's the question we need to ask ourselves. And Mr. Ashok, I think that answers most of your question. If there's anyone that I missed, you can easily raise it. I will be short as possible as I can to manage the time.
All right, thank you very much. Because of time, I was going to actually say that because there's a lot of people who like to ask questions and make their own submission as well. Mr. Baiki put out something here. He did say, please, if you can, in a minute or so. He said, Mayo, I asked for the caliber of the, that was the question from Mr. Baiki. So if you can just tell us what it is, and then I can pass the mic to another person, please. Thank you, sir.
So the thing is, I don't understand what he meant by caliber, but what I'm saying by the kind of weapon that was deployed was a tomahawk missile with nuclear explosive warheads that, after fired, most of them were found not to have exploded.
Okay. All right, then that's fine. So, okay. Mr. Baiki, you raised your hand. He's responded to the question. It appears that he hasn't got the information about what the caliber is, right?
See, when a journalist is investigative and he's telling us about the kind of weapon or the kind of delivery done, and he's unable to tell me the caliber of what was delivered, then I think there's a problem somewhere. Now, when you talk of the caliber, it tells you if it's the normal rifle, what you have the police carrying is 7.62 mm. What the military carries is 7.62 mm. Then you have the 7.62 NATO. Calibers are the size of the projectile. So the projectile that dropped has a caliber. So if you really want to know the caliber of that projectile, if you want to know that projectile, you go for the caliber, not the kind. So if you go for that, then find out if Tomahawk missiles are of the same caliber. I want to just make him understand. The issue is Tomahawk missiles were fired Tomahawk. What is the caliber of a Tomahawk missile? And what is the caliber of the ordnance dropped? I think, Mr. Mayowa, when you get this right, we'll be able to talk better. Thank you very much, Mindset.
All right, thank you very much. Mayowa is a journalist, investigative journalist. Yourself, you're coming from a military background. So, I mean, I'm just a novice to all these things, and hence we are here to learn. So whoever is going to speak next, let's be very mindful of time. If it's a submission or a question, please. I think it's very fair for us to allow the lady to speak first. Then I'll pass the mic to Mr. Yusuf. Gift, you have the mic. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to make a comment, and I don't know, with respect to most of the things Mayowa said, I've listened, and to be honest, with due respect to him, like it makes no intellectual sense to me. A lot of his submissions, I don't even know where to start because he was shooting everywhere, and to be honest, with no proof whatsoever, no evidence whatsoever, he has made very, 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 very big allegations and so many conjectures that I see not substantiated. Yes, I said with due respect to him, I don't know. So I'm going to dismiss like a whole lot of what he has said. I'm going to dismiss that, and I would say most of it is rooted in emotion rather than facts, and that is just the truth. When you say the US is a bulldog, as it doesn't even make sense when you say, oh, they funded Boko Haram. I don't know where you're coming from, and at the same time, they are trying to override our sovereignty, and therefore a lot of things were an attempt to appeal to our emotions. And the truth is that we are seeing these things, we are logical about these things, we are not overcome by emotion, we are seeing the facts, we are seeing the results these things are yielding. And I think that for the vast majority of Nigerians, as much as you've seen the Venezuelans, how much I have looked around, I've seen their reaction. Okay, if only they could cry that, oh, their sovereignty has been threatened. I've seen nothing like that. Instead, I've seen a country that is liberated. And for me, that is the major thing. If whatever action is taken is something that appeals to the yearnings of the people, right? We're not going to bring all these things. Of course, I'm a lawyer. The UN Charter says that you have no right to encroach on any country's sovereignty. But there's I think that Article 51 talks about self-defense. For a number of times, the United States has been blowing up these boats, has been warning this country. And I do not see anything under the guise of being emotional or anything for anybody to say this is it. But if the ICC should choose to do it, they already know, the US not being a party state to the Rome Statute, and you will know a lot of other things, the limitations of the ICC and all of that. I don't think it will work. I think I joined the conversations where we're talking about Venezuela and then what Mayowa said, and I think I've reacted to both of those things, and I'm happy for Venezuela, and I hope that other places where justice is much needed, Iran, Nigeria particularly, that somehow one day we'll also sing the song of victory. And also when it, sorry to say again about US funding terrorism, and I'm like, why are we not looking at the issue of this global Islamic jihad going all over the world? Why are we not talking about the participation of Turkey? We're not talking about what Qatar is doing and the funding from other countries. Why the US please, I think we should do more. He made a lot of case against Nigerians about the need for us to keep reading and, what we don't know and all of that. We know. I'm just saying a vast majority know. I just want you to know that, Mr. Mayowa, that we know and that we know what is going on. So with due respect to your investigative journalism, but to be honest, I don't agree with 90%. I'll just leave 10% simply because probably you don't like the man in Aso Rock. So we share that sentiment. I think that is just it. Thank you all for allowing me to talk.
Thank you very much, Ms. Adike, for your wonderful submission. Please, if anybody disagree with her, you can put a comment in the comment section, respectfully, and you can request for the mic, and we'll bring you up to air your view. Mr. Yusuf, you have the mic, sir. Good evening.
All right, thank you, Mindset. Well, I have a question for Mayowa. And I think my question just borders on the fact, on the question of who a puppet basically is when we say a puppet president. We might agree that there is some puppet master somewhere, but with particular reference to a US puppet, I'm trying to understand what his definition of a puppet is in this sense, that for about 2 decades, there is a genocide being carried out by an Islamist group on a particular group of people. It's targeted. Certainly there are other victims as well. But then until the US decides first to place Nigeria on the CPC, and then another government comes in and removes the country, even though whatever aid that came in terms of military support, finances, technology, and all of that, only translated to the proliferation of Islamist groups in Nigeria. But the Republicans came and brought up the same old issue because they've been following. It's not exactly as if they were absolutely out of the government, but they've been in the government, they've been documenting issues, and they said, Nigeria, this thing that is happening, this thing that has refused to stop, especially the toll it took from 2015, is a genocide. The reason is because right from that moment, groups like the Christian Association of Nigeria, groups like the current ruling party have called what has been happening a genocide. But then the sitting party, having come into power, decides that it is not a genocide. As a matter of fact, it is spending more money on international propaganda of denial than it is attending to the victim of the massacre. The question I just want to put together is simple. If the president, Tinubu, is a puppet of the United States, how come a clear case of a genocide that the United States is just observing and is trying to stop? The man is saying it is not a genocide. He's not only denying it, but then his officials travel to the US to lie, and then he is sponsoring an international propaganda of denial. Basically, how does that fit into the definition of who a puppet is in this regard? When you said he's a puppet, I thought you were going to mention somewhere like France, because the policies being rolled out in Nigeria is beginning to make us look like a Francophone country. We know what has been happening in the French countries. But with regards to him being a puppet of the United States, and how do you define puppet with this strong disparity, especially in the case of a genocide? What exactly does being a puppet of the United States mean in the case of Tinubu, and especially around this issue of Christian genocide?
Before Mr. Mayowa will respond, I think it's fair that Mr. Henry did raise his hand earlier on. I'm not sure if they have a question, so it would be fair for him to ask the question so Mr. Mayowa can respond, and we'll go back to the topic as well. Mr. Henry, you have the mic, sir.
My question was to Mayowa, but it looks like he's already on so much heat, but maybe I can just add it.
Go on.
Okay, thank you, Mayowa. So you know a lot of allegations, and I'm also someone who is not. I don't like to hear conjecture. You said Tinubu is a puppet, and all that. When you say he's a puppet, you insinuate that he's collaborating with the US. We have seen countries that the US is collaborating with, countries like El Salvador, countries like Israel, countries like even Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Some of them, the United States president has met with their leaders. You saw the robust confabulation they have. So I'm asking if Tinubu is a puppet or collaborating with the US, how exactly has this collaboration benefited Nigeria? Or are you saying that Tinubu is a puppet in the sense that, because you can see the type of these countries I mentioned, El Salvador, Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Brazil, and the rest, you see the type of tweets Trump makes about those countries, about the president. You see the type of tweets he's made about Nigeria and our president. So where this whole puppetry conversation, where did it come from? What exactly is your basis to say that the US has Tinubu as his puppet, or to insinuate, that there's a form of collaboration or relationship, working relationship between Nigeria and the US? Thank you.
All right, Mr. Mayowa, the floor is yours if you would like to respond to Mr. Yusuf and Mr. Henry, but let's be very mindful of time, so please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So to answer the question, I would say if I have a leverage over you where your past records, you've done some bad things in the past, and I have that file over you as leverage, what does that make you? That's one question. The other way to look at it is that, did you and I elected that man in Abuja? That's another question. And when it goes to that seat, the most important seat in Abuja, is he serving our interest? And if not, whose interest is he serving actually? That's another question that we need to ask ourselves. So coming back to Zari, which I believe, I'm glad he's on his space, because I believe he actually come from a region where they witnessed the level of brutality that no human being should actually experience. And it will clarify the argument raised by Gift as well, to understand my stance on the issue of genocide going on in Nigeria or not. So basically, I will say this as simple as I can. There's genocide in Nigeria, but to base it on the fact that that's to do with religion is not is setting yourself up to not seeing the long-term goal behind these terror activities. And I will explain what I mean by that. Terrorists are killing both Muslims and Christians in Middle Belt, northern Nigeria. It is fact, even though the regime in Abuja is claiming there is no propaganda to save whatever is left of their image, there is genocide going on in Nigeria. But the moment you mention religion, you whatever goal you tend to achieve in terms of retaining dignity to human lives, you've lost the war. Once you bring religion, because religion has to do with your emotions, and that's where you lose the argument. These people are killing human lives, terrorists that has said blood and veins running through their systems. They are killing their fellow human beings just because they are being followed by external factors that we somehow tend to disagree with, which is okay, by the way. We can't all agree to the same thing because we work based on what we know, the level of information we are exposed to. So the Middle Belt especially, I've witnessed the most horrible experiences that I've ever seen. As a journalist, I've spoken to people, I can't mention their names here, in Bokos, in all these local communities that are being terrorized by terrorists. That place, I believe they witness terrorists in a way where human lives now means nothing. So the people in that region need to understand what the problem they have beyond the issue of because we are Christians, that's why they are killing us, and then they have Islamization agenda. No, the CIA created this pretext. If the CIA that created these terrorist organizations knows there's a story that needs to be sold emotionally for people to actually focus on the wrong thing, which is religion and all these emotional-driven territories that they made up. The main focus is to use terrorism to destabilize regions that they find that are. And why is it that? Because why is it that? Is that, let's ask ourselves, why is it that the regions that are most terrorized most are the regions that have resources that Washington and these external factors covet? So religion is just a pretext to justify for you to for you to focus on this uh, uh, surface level appearance of what is going on. Beneath that, what is actually going on? Terrorists are destabilizing mineral-rich regions to make Nigeria look ungovernable, and then when it appear ungovernable, I come in to pretend to solve the problem of terrorism, one to which I created in the first place. So I guess that answered the issue of genocide or not genocide in Nigeria, Zara Yusuf.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayo. I can see quite a number of persons raising their hand. Please do bear with me a minute. I do have a question. Because this is a little bit difficult for me because we're talking about human lives here, okay? I believe as a journalist, you saw what happened December 24th in Plateau State, where people were killed. And, we've seen what happened in Benue State. So we have to tread carefully. I'm not saying one should not be bold enough to speak to what they know. But as a journalist, are you not saying that there is no genocide in these states? Are you saying because people are being killed in different places, that justify the killings of Christians? Is that your response to this? Because I'm trying to figure out how you, as a journalist who have gone to this place, are you not saying, it doesn't really matter. What we should focus on is because people are being killed, not because Christians are saying they're being killed. Mr. Mayo?
No, that's not what I intend for people to understand about my explanation. So the point I'm trying to make is that, or which I already made, was that terrorism is destabilizing regions that are mineral rich, but happens to be Christian dominated, even Muslim dominated in some northern region, even though we know Christians are also in the northern region of the country, but mostly the Middle Belt region are Christian areas. So to set the narrative of religion that Christians are being persecuted by Muslims or Islamist extremists, as they will call them, the religious tone has to be there to set that narrative. But what is actually going on is there's genocide being perpetrated against Nigerians who happens to be Christians and Muslims. That is the exact understanding of what I'm trying to explain. And I believe my explanation should answer the question. But if not, as always, I'm open to more questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayo, for responding to the question. Now, I want you to clarify this without asking me a question, right? I want you to just respond to this question. It doesn't make sense to me that somebody who, in your word, is a puppet for Washington, right? That Washington needs to create something for them to have access. Because if he is a puppet, they don't need to come up with this genocide thing. All they have to do, with the little I know about foreign policy and geopolitics, right? I don't really know the little I know. All they have to do is walk hand in hand with their puppet and say, this is what we need. We need so or mineral resources from you guys and all these things are, and he's gonna give it to them if indeed he's a puppet. So why does he have to create all this whole thing to say, okay, there are killings and everything to make himself look bad? Because I can tell you for a fact, that you're a journalist, you can go and fact check this for it. When this whole thing happened, the presidency, they felt it was something that they can get away with name callings, i.e., the likes of Bayo Ononuga, who happens to be the presidency spokesperson, and the likes of Daniel Bwala. You saw their tweet, you saw the response from them. They felt that they're going to use name calling. But when they realized that Trump means business, right, they started trying to find a way to negotiate. You saw the NSA and the rest of them who traveled to America. So why would they put themselves in this position if indeed the man in Aso Rock is working for them? There is absolutely no reason for them to be jumping from one TV station to the another, because, hello guys, we don't need all this. Our man is there. We don't need this thing. He's going to work with them. If you can kindly, sir, respond to this question, I'll be very glad. Thank you.
Yeah. So good question right there. So the thing is, the US needs to, whenever it carries out an illegal operation, it needs to sell it to its citizens, which is manufactured consent to justify that illegal action they want to take. So when I said, when by your explanation by saying if it's a puppet, why are they not working hand in hand to address the issue of terrorism and the likes? The US need have their own base, their own audience that they need to sell a story to for why they are taking certain action. Because at the end of the day, the US taxpayers are funding all this, those tomahawks that they drop are not like some random $1 military equipment. No, they're fucking expensive. So they need to justify whatever military action, illegal or not, that they want to take, and they need to sell it not to mainly to the Nigeria, but to the global audience. We want to see. But as history have taught us, we know how the US have actually manufactured consent to. We are seeing it happening right before our face in Venezuela. It happens in Nigeria. They had to create this Christian genocide. Why did they focus on Christian alone? They are not saying Muslims has also been killed. So that answers the question of why would they, go all the way out to, sell these stories and all the like. They need to, sell a story to their country, to their citizens, which is funding all these activities, military actions, and not just to their country, but to the global, to the whole world. They need to sell that story to justify whatever action they need to take. As we know, the military action they took in Nigeria was without Congress approval. So on that side, and in the context of being a puppet, I will refer back to saying if I have 337.5 million population that I claim to be, governing, but probably less than, let's say, 30% of them didn't elect me to get to that office. Who am I? And why was it that when I got to the office, I was seeking legitimacy here and there from any Western country that, is able to get any sort of backing from? What are you? So that's the question.
All right, thank you very much, Mayowa, for responding to my question. Mayowa is an investigative journalist, and please, you can respond to him. You can ask him questions. I am not a journalist. He's the only journalist we have here. Hence, we are asking these questions. Ms. Adike, you have the mic. Please, I want us to go back. I think a lot of people want to the conversation to come back, not question and answer with Mr. Mayowa, but I think we have done enough, and he has responded to some of these questions. So I want us to go back to the topic. But Ms. Adike, you raise your hand. Please go ahead.
Yes, sorry, that's exactly what I wanted to say. Instead of platforming Mayowa here and asking him questions, maybe he should just sit this one out and listen to people. I'm so sorry. Like, I don't mean to sound condescending, right? But I'm really, really pissed off with some of the things, if not all, that he has said. I'm from Benue State, right? When it comes to this issue, and he dares to say that there should be no, was it coloration or narrative? Like, I mean, this is old, for Christ's sake. That argument is old. As an investigative journalist, you should know that there were attacks in Adamawa State on the 30th and 31st, where this, is it ISWAP or whatever, you know what they said? That their legitimate targets were Christians in Nigeria, and that the Christians have an opportunity to spare their blood by converting to Islam. You come back to my home where I've sat in a room full with victims of Yellow killings, and they are telling me they're shouting Al-Arkuba. And this is not the first time. Like, it is something that is ongoing. And you say that we shouldn't. You don't want us to generalize it, right? And to say, oh, it's everybody. All lives matter, and all of that. Please, no vex me this evening. I use God beg you. Sorry, I don't want to resort to pidgin, but when I'm mad, it can get like that. How would you say that if you're an investigative journalist, why are you still driving this narrative that has gotten old and has been overthrown with these people coming out to say, okay, if you were in doubt, we are telling you that all Christians in Nigeria are legitimate targets of our attacks, and that they can only spare their blood by converting to Islam or paying jizya, whatever they call it. and you want to say that, and then you still circle back to the US. You are doubling down on the things you said. We've tried to disabuse your mind, albeit we've been saying it calmly and all of that. So please, I am begging you. I think you should. I don't know what to say at this point. I really don't know what to say at this point. I just want to thank you.
Ms. Gibbs, let me come in here. Please take a deep breath. Okay, I know some, if you remember when I responded to you, I say we have to tread carefully, because when we come to human lives, people who have lost family members, when they listen to some of these things, it's quite a difficult thing, because they've seen it. They were there, they saw these things, like you mentioned, that you've seen, people that lost their life, like someone like Yusuf, Mr. Bike, and some individuals on this platform have witnessed this thing. This is not hearsay for them, right? And it's very, very difficult for them to hear when somebody's saying this did not happen, or try to say, we need to carry everybody along. But I do understand where you're coming from. Please do take a deep breath. And now, we are not platforming anybody. If you've been on this platform, it's a platform that will give people opportunity to speak, and we learn from them. We ask questions. This is what the platform is all about. The reason it would appear that we are asking him, and for some persons, it would appear that we are platforming. No, we're not platforming. He's a journalist. I'm not a journalist. You're a lawyer. Mr. Bike is coming from military background. Mr. Henry is coming from legal background like yourself. I'm just a political analyst and I'm a consultant. So I am not a journalist, in as much as I do hear things, right? So I wanted to hear from him. And the good thing here is, as you can testify, we all have asked questions. We have, it's not that we all agree to what he's saying. The one I disagree, I say, I do not agree to this. And some other individuals, right, who have come out to say, we do not agree with you. And this thing, we don't accept it, and all this. And he responded. So I think we're not platforming anybody, but I do understand where you're coming from. Thank you very much for your wonderful submission. So let's go back to the topic again, and hopefully we can carry everybody along. Now, before that, there's a lot of things going on in the comment section, and I've made it very clear, we can disagree with people on the comment section, on the speaker section, but one thing I would not condone is name callings. Please disagree with them respectfully. Tell them the reason you disagree with them, but this name callings will not work this year. Right, so we all are seeing what's going on, what happened in Venezuela. As we're on this platform, Trump has actually made a statement. It's been confirmed that indeed they've captured the former president, or the president of Venezuela. So they are moving him to the United States. That's the situation of things. And where does that put us as a country? It's very clear that Trump said that this is what they want to do. They gave him options. They want him to leave. They want him to come in and find a way to work with him. They did say that we have given you enough time to move away, move up from here and there. But for some reason, the man believed that China, Iran, and Russia will back him. Unfortunately for him, they were nowhere to be found when this thing happened. So where does that put us as a country, whereby America had made it very clear? There is a Christian genocide, and there are things they want the Nigerian government to do, and if these things are not done, they are not going to remove her from CPC. In their own words, it's most likely going to get into this situation whereby there might be, they will come to interfere, not put on the ground, but it looks like most likely they're coming to help, right, to help the Christians. So, Mr. Yusuf, you raise your hand. I'll pass the mic to you, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Mindset. Let me just put it this way. The case of Venezuela, and I love how you contrasted it, that there are certain nations that unless you have had very deep dealings with them, there is a tendency of thinking the political will to come to your aid is there. With the Chinese in particular, it is more of a matter of just using their funds, using a lot of money, using cheap loans to access minerals. But when it comes to trouble directly, we have not known the Chinese to, whether for good or bad reasons, we have not known them with that moral will to involve, their physical presence so much in countries that are in certain kinds of crisis, especially security-wise. And most of the time, even when it comes to weapon supply, you would realize that they are more linked to non-state actors, that they are linked to sovereign state. An example is what stopped them from with their heavy presence in Nigeria since 2015, with their unlimited access to our, mineral resources, especially in the terrorist infested regions. What stops them from supplying Nigeria with weapons to fight terrorism? It has never happened. We have never known of any whether military aid or whatsoever from the Chinese. We only know of huge loans that is usually just shared among politicians. Now, what has happened in Venezuela tells you that there is a certain kind of political will in the US. And let me just put it this way. When people come in and say, the US are coming, their reasons are selfish, blah, 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 blah. Frankly speaking, I will say to you, you must be naive to assume that at the core of any foreign policy of any country, that it is not self-centered. There is no country whose foreign policy is not self-centered. So at every point in time, they look at whatever opportunity there is to advance their foreign policy. If Mindset has 10 million naira and he's thinking of how to spend it, and I come to Mindset and say, my car wash, there is problem, the machines are not working. Mindset will say, no, where are you doing it? And I'll tell him it's in the outskirts of town. I say, no, come to the center of town. And then someone will come and tell me, this Mindset you are seeing is not trying to help you. He's looking for somewhere he will pump his money and then he will make profit. Of course, it is profit he has seen an opportunity to make. So he helps me and then he solves his problem. There is no country that does that. The Chinese doesn't do it. Turkey does not do it, and all of that. Now, in the case of Nigeria, you may realize that lately, the likes of Gumi said something, and then it's as if Tinubu echoed it, that Turkey should come to our aid in terms of fight against terrorism. A country that is known for some time to directly supply arms to terrorists. And then somebody would think it is just a terrorist sympathizer that is speaking, and then the federal government decides to say yes. What I see there is some form of naivety where there is the thought that if it gets to a certain point, these countries that tend to be on the other side of the US, on the other divide from the US, will actually step in and say, US, the day you launch an attack, or the day you put boots on the ground, or the day you do anything, we are going to do it this way. They have never confronted the US in any way. The simple reason is because their economy is far more important to them than any confrontation at the moment. The US is far more risk, that takes more risk, even with regards to its interest in interfering in certain things or intervening. They have a problem with what's happening. And the Nigerian believes that whatever it is, basically some foreign allies like Turkey, unfortunately, they are countries that have been more linked to sponsoring terrorism, directly or indirectly, than countries that have interfered for moral reasons to bring stability to crisis-infested regions or whatsoever. So what I see in Nigeria is, maybe it's a case of people that the gods have cursed, talking about our leaders. They will continue doing it and possibly pushing. An example is, even the airstrike, I am sure there are people that told them, call their bluff of there's nothing they can do and all of that. So I think it's just a situation where I don't want to say the country is doomed, but I think there is a revolutionary approach that will reset a whole lot of things. And the very way it took foreign intervention to bring in this particular government, it is likely another foreign intervention that will put things in place. Because the sitting government of the day, as far as the massacre of people is concerned, it is still in outright denial of it. And unless the US has never been known to basically interfere in matters of genocide and human rights abuses, I don't think anything will stop them from doing whatever it is that lies in their power to put an end to this genocide. That basically is how I see it.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Yusuf. It appears you're driving. Please, let's be very mindful and be careful as well when one is driving and then listening or speaking on spaces. I'm very, very cautious when it comes to that. But thank you for your wonderful submission. I mean, there's a lot of things going on the timeline. The picture of the president of, or should I say, the former president of Venezuela is out there. So it's confirmed that he's been captured. And from the Secretary of State, he said something that I'm going to paraphrase. He said, when the president says he's going to do something, he will do it. And that portrays what I said earlier on. based on the little information I have. When you speak to some of these people who are very close to the presidency, not the president, I mean the senators or the rep members, the congressmen and everything, they are legislative head, and you wanted to find out the body language of these people, it's very clear. To myself, maybe I'm not sure, everybody have their own sources, like Mr. Mayowa is a journalist and he has his own sources, but they would tell you this is what most likely would happen, and then it would then happen. So some of these things myself, I'm not surprised. As always, I'm not a journalist, I just do my work. And sorry guys, my landlord is here. So do we have any other person who would like to add anything before I attend to my landlord? Please do raise your hand and I'll pass the mic to you. All right, do we have any other person who would like to add anything, or those on the speaker section? Am I still audible?
Yes, myself.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Aminu, you have the mic. Good evening, sir. Aminu, you have the mic, sir.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mindset, and everybody on the space. The submission I would like to make, hopefully, is going to be very brief. I would like to reiterate some of the things that Henry made clear here. Personally, I think there are both arguments to be made as to whether the arrest of the president of Venezuela is legal or illegal. But the important thing here is there's politics at play here. It is political. There are lots of other world leaders that are committing crimes that the US could have also arrested them, or at least used the same excuse here, but they haven't used. They are not using it, or they are not going to use it because that is not politically beneficial to them at the moment. And secondly, they are powerful enough to do it. Almost, I would personally want to argue, maybe with the exception of Russia, China, there's no country that can face the US right now. So even if the US is doing something that is illegal, according to all international laws and other things, what are we going to do about it? That's the question. It's not about whether it's right or wrong. What can you do about it, even if it's wrong? At the moment, you can't do much about it. They are the world power, so to say. So even if they come to Nigeria to do such a thing, even if Tinubu was legally, in quote, he was loved by the people, put there by the people, if they want to do it, there's nothing we can do about it. That is the point I want a lot of us to understand here. And personally, I believe what America is doing, as to some of the things Maiwa is saying, I do not believe it is driven by morality or the need to do the right thing. If you are lucky, what they want to do in your own country or in your own part of the world, it's the right thing morally, or it's the right thing to save lives or to protect humanity or something like that, then that's fine. But if what they want to do, even if it is illegal, it is immoral, there are lots of countries where Christians are being killed, churches are attacked and whatever, and the US is not going there to save the people there, because as of now or at the moment, that is not going to serve their interests. So I just think we should just have that at the back of our mind. There are lots of cases where the US has invaded places or have gone to commit certain things that later comes out to be that the reason they claim is not there. And sometimes they actually knew it was not there before they go there, but they do it. And what can the world do about it? There's nothing we can do about it. So that is just the reality of the world, and that's where we find ourselves currently. So I think I will just leave it for here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aminu. Aminu is a journalist as well, so we have two journalists on the platform. I mean, if we have any other person who would like to contribute or you have any question, please do raise your hand. As I pass the mic to King. King, you have the mic. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir, Mr. Mindset, and the co-host and everyone listening. My opinion, or should I say my observation on this issue, is that the United States, what they've done to Venezuela and what they've been doing to them for almost 25 years now. I'm not a legal practitioner. I cannot say if it's legal or illegal, but it's very unethical, because when Hugo Chavez, I follow international events a lot and for quite some time now, when they nationalized the Western corporation, especially in the oil and gas or energy sector, they did get compensation. Some of those compensations are not yet fully paid. You have companies like Exxon, even Verizon, which is telecommunication. So you have many of those companies. ExxonMobil, I think the compensation is between somewhere from $900 million to $1.6 billion. However, what they were asking for was about $10 billion. But a lot of analysts said the compensation was fair. My point is, when Donald Trump tweeted things, a lot of those things, yes, he would do what he said he would do. That is for sure. He has the power to do it. But a lot of those things are not true. History, this is well known. And these things happen I would assume, in the lifetime of most of the people that are listening here. So those companies, nothing was stolen from them. They were compensated. Yes, some of those compensations are yet to be fully paid. This is true. But international politics, as the previous speaker said, is not about morality or about being a nice guy. It's about interest. People go around to protect their interest or to further their interest. Now, bringing it back to Nigeria, how does Nigeria fit into all this international brouhaha, or the case of China not supporting Venezuela? It is well known. Anyone who read Global Times is a Chinese newspaper, and the Chinese state, they speak through them a lot. Anyone who reads Global Times would understand that the Chinese, they always make it clear that they don't believe in military intervention, and they will not do that. They choose to do things economically, or to conquer the world without firing a weapon, so to speak. Or anyone who listens to the intellectual, a man by the name of Victor Gao, is very popular. I'm sure a lot of people here might have seen some of his viral videos or interviews. So the Chinese, any country or anyone who thinks they fed Venezuela definitely has not been paying attention to the Chinese foreign policy. Some people like to argue that they have a base in Djibouti, but this is for piracy. The base is next to the United States base, military base in Djibouti, which the US sometimes they complain about. France and Japan, Italy, they also have military bases in the same environment in Djibouti. Now, in the case of Nigeria, yes, this argument that, these people, there's Muslims also being killed, maybe this herders farmers clash or whatever, that argument is at least 15 years late, minimum. That time has passed. The United States have tested the water in terms of dropping a fire in Nigeria on some people they claim to be terrorists. So I cannot verify, I don't know. So those arguments are late. The war on terror has reached Nigeria. It's either we accept it or not. Here on this space, I've said it before, I'm against that. The United States cannot end terrorism. They can kill terrorists, but they cannot end the ideology. And that's a shame. So they will kill as much as they can, or as much as they want, if they need to. So the war on terror has touched down in Nigeria. That extension since 2001. This is our own phase. and I don't see it ending anytime soon. When the attack happened, before the attack happened, I tweeted something when I saw that the ambassador and some senior embassy staff were recalled. This is the way they operate. When they record their senior diplomatic staffs, the next thing is that war is coming. Me, I thought it would take longer because their allies would have to record their people. But yes, it's Christmas. Maybe those people just go home. They went home naturally. So the attack happened. It's normal. People can see the move from 10 miles away. That had happened. No serious public backlash. I'm going to hand over just in 30 seconds. No serious public backlash in the United States or from Nigeria. So what they've done. The best thing is for us to put pressure on our government to find a way to end it so that people can live peacefully again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, King, for your wonderful submission. Please, if we have somebody here of Anambra, I say, could I please make comment many times? Yes, sir. You're welcome to be part of the conversation. All you need to do is request for the mic. If I'm not able to bring you up, my co-host would bring you up to be part of the conversation. So it's been a very interesting conversation. There are people who believe that this is the right thing to do. There are those who believe it's not the right thing to do. Politically, politicians will play politics. Morally, the people will disagree with them. But for America, they have done what they wanted to do. Now, there are other countries that they are still looking into how they're going to arrive to the conclusion of whatever it is that they want to do. I do not know. But I think it's a wake-up call for any country that America have said, listen, we want you to do A, B, C, D, and these are the things we want you to do. I mean, you can call them bullies and everything, but if you don't want to end up like the Venezuela president, you might want to find a way to get to the table and start negotiating. This is what politics is all about, right? If you go back to Second World War and what happened with Japan and everything, it appears that Pearl Harbor has happened, and what's going to happen next? No one believed that America is going to throw the bomb. Hiroshima and Nagasaki happens. These guys are world power. So I'm saying this to say to those who still believe Americans will not do anything, I'm not here to amplify Donald Trump or to call him a miracle worker or what have you. I'm just telling you, when it comes to foreign policy and geopolitics, sometimes you just got to get down to the table and start having that conversation. If I'm going with what Mr. King said, it looks like that's, the trend have left already. It looks like the boats, that ship have sailed in the sense that they have tested waters in Nigeria. But this is politics, right? Maybe based on the information available out there, people are still negotiating. And there are those who have seen a gap, a very big gap, and they're trying to make the best out of it. Do not ask me who those people are. You can ask Mr. Mayowa. He's a politician, he's a journalist. He might give you the answer. Or you can ask Mr. Amini. But there are those who have seen a crack. And I must say that based on information available, it appears that some people are just going to make the best out of it. So we're not, the government should be very mindful and find a way, to figure out how to manage this situation. That's all I have to say. Do we have any other person who have anything to add? Please do raise your hand. Mr. Mayowa, thank you very much. I know you've listened to quite a number of persons. Please, if you'd like to add anything, you're welcome to do so. And Ms. Gibbs, Mr. Henry, Mr. Yusuf, and every other person, if you guys have anything to add, please do so. Raise your hand, I'll pass the mic to you. If not, I'm going to continue to read out what is going on in the comments. Mr. AIG said, it's not about puppet or working for the US, quote. It's about being an asset for the Western board of directors type setup. Think G7. Thank you very much, sir. And what else do we have here? Mr. Joe said, Mayowa, who are the people killing Muslims? Muslims are also being killed, yes, but by who? Question mark. What religion what religion do these terrorists profess? That is from Mr. Joe. And Green White Petra say, Bro, Tinubu is a power grabber. WTF are you saying? Okay. All right. All right. What else are we? Okay. Somebody is saying they're disappointed with some persons and everything. So some of the comments, I'm not sure I want to read them out because it's not going to help myself or my listeners here. So those on the speaker section, please do raise your hand if you have anything to add, and I will pass the mic to you. If not, we're going to start to round up. If we do not have any more person who would like to, okay, I've just got a message on my DM. I cannot confirm this. Somebody said Shegumi. Okay, let me read it out. Somebody, Maya One, Mr. Aminu, both of you are journalists, so you guys will help us out. He said Shegumi have deleted all his posts about America. Can either of you confirm that, Mr. Mayowa and Aminu? Somebody just sent me a message that it appears that Shegumi have deleted all his posts about America. Do we have any confirmation? Hello, where are our journalists? Please, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Mindset, as of this morning, I have not seen him deleted anything. I browsed through his page this morning. So unless it happened just on the minute right now, I don't think that's true.
Thank you very much. What about you, Mr. Mayowa?
I will have to confirm that now.
All right, thank you. So we're just going to hang around and see if our journalists can confirm if indeed Shegumi have deleted all his American posts. That would be very, very interesting. So I've got a question for Barrister Henry. You're still here, right?
Yeah, surely, Mindset.
Okay, thank you. So you have seen the argument. A lot of people still believe that America has broken the law because going in there to arrest this man is not the right thing to do. Now, if indeed he was in American soil, they arrested him, fine. But going to his own country and removing him, a lot of people still argue that this is wrong, right? I don't know if you want to, if we can push you a little bit to see if we can get anything out of it.
Well, I think there was somebody on the comment section who answered it very succinctly. I think it was Ola also. And the truth is, somebody says it is wrong, but my question would be wrong under what law? Because clearly, under the US law, under the US federal criminal laws under which Maduro has been charged, the US has jurisdiction to try anybody who has committed any of those federal offenses. And it is for those reasons that they have arrested and they are going to prosecute Maduro. So if you want to look at it from the prism of US law, anything the US government, like he was indicted by the Department of Justice, this was an indictment that was following many years of investigation. Bounties were placed on his head. He probably even knew that the US was coming for him. So this chronicles the journey of the US Maduro story, and where it is going to end is something that is competently within the framework of American legal system. However, if you want to implicate international law, we will now start having the conversation about whether under international customary law, there is a recognition of certain immunity, whether it is right under international customary law for certain presidents to be abducted from their countries, or whether, Venezuela has to voluntarily give Maduro up before he can be arrested and prosecuted, all those conversations. But then again, international, many people have said here that, in so many contexts, international law doesn't have teeth. I told you how I do not know of any European president who has been charged or indicted or prosecuted by the ICC, that's International Criminal Court. Whereas so many countries, with African heads of states have been indicted and prosecuted. Somebody will say, well, there has to be voluntary cooperation between ICC and some of those countries. That may be true, but for me, it is bewildering. It is impossible to believe that no European president has been implicated in any of those crimes, war crimes, that they say the African leaders have been implicated in. It's just a power game. More so, when you think about the crimes involved, we're talking about narco trafficking, narco terrorism, drug trafficking, and conspiracy to import cocaine into the US. These are crimes that have extraterritorial reach. These are crimes that they may be committed in Venezuela, but may have clear-cut physical consequences in the US. Crimes that it is
Sorry,
easy to
sorry to
draw a
interject here. I hate to do this, but it's an
No, sorry.
allegation.
No, sorry, Mayo, please hold your thoughts for a minute. I'm sorry. We have it's been a very interesting platform. Not interject, neither do we interrupt. So what I would have expected for you to do is for you to allow him to finish. Then you can raise your hand, and you know I'm going to pass the mic to you. Thank you. I do apologize, Barrister Henry. Please go ahead, sir.
Mayowa is saying that it's an allegation. I did not say he has been convicted now. That is why the charges will be filed before the US courts, and we'll know whether he will be convicted or not. But then again, the point I'm making is simple. These are when I say indictments, just like Tinubu was indicted for drug trafficking in the US, it doesn't mean a conviction necessarily. But he was indicted, there was a bounty on his head. All these are facts. He was indicted in 2020 or 2021 by the Department of Justice. So this just chronicles to you, like I said in summary, how the US has legal competence to try him. If you want to look through the prism of international law, that was where I was before I was interjected and lost some train of my thoughts. International law, a number of you would know that the teeth of international law is not exactly well defined. We had talked about the UN Security Council, for instance. Imagine that the UN Security Council till date is made up of those 5 countries.